Have you ever felt like your knees were betraying you after what was supposed to be a simple walk? Maybe the morning started fine, but a few steps later, that sharp pinch or heavy ache returned. One of my patients once told me, "Doctor, walking is supposed to help me. Why does it feel like it's hurting me more?" And I want you to imagine this for a moment. You're taking a quiet afternoon stroll, breathing in the fresh air, believing you're doing the best thing for your health. But with every step, there's a silent force pressing into your arthritic knees, and it's something most seniors never realize. My name is Dr. Evelyn Carter, and after decades of caring for older adults across the United States, I've learned that walking can either be your greatest healer or your quietest enemy. Many seniors tell me they walk every day because they've always heard it's the safest, simplest, and most natural way to stay active. And yes, walking truly can strengthen joints, reduce stiffness, and help you maintain independence. But here's the shocking truth most people miss. For those with arthritic knees, walking the wrong way, at the wrong time, or on the wrong surface can increase the pressure inside the joint by up to 3 to 5 times your body weight. That's a small scientific fact with a huge impact. I've seen countless patients who thought more walking meant better health, only to discover that their pain wasn't from arthritis getting worse, but from walking habits that were quietly damaging their knees. Sometimes all it takes is a longer stride, a slightly tilted posture, or stepping on a hard surface like cement to trigger days of discomfort. And the heartbreaking part is that nobody ever told them. But you're here now, and this moment matters. In today's video, I'm going to help you understand exactly why walking can feel good or painful, what most seniors get wrong without realizing it, and how small corrections can completely transform the way your knees feel. Stay with me, because by the end of this conversation, you'll know how to walk in a way that protects your joints and supports your long-term mobility. And if you find this helpful, make sure to subscribe so you never miss another Senior Health Daily Guide crafted just for you. Understanding what really happens inside arthritic knees. When I sit with my patients and ask them what they believe is happening inside their arthritic knees, most of them give the same gentle smile and say something like, "Oh, doctor, it's just old age. Everything is wearing out. I understand why it feels that simple, but the truth is much deeper and far more hopeful. Your knees are not just wearing out. They are reacting, adapting, and trying their best to protect you, and the way you walk either helps that effort or quietly works against it. Let me take you inside the knee joint for a moment, because understanding this is the foundation for solving the pain. Inside every healthy knee is a layer of smooth cartilage, almost like a piece of glass covered in a film of oil. That layer allows the bones to glide without friction. But in arthritic knees, that smooth surface starts to thin. It doesn't disappear entirely like many people fear. It simply changes. And when cartilage becomes uneven, the joint becomes sensitive to pressure, especially pressure that comes suddenly or repetitively, which is exactly what happens with every step you take. Most seniors are told that walking is good for arthritis because movement increases blood flow and helps nourish the joint. That is absolutely true. But here's where the confusion begins. Walking is good only when the load on the knee is reasonable and evenly distributed. If you walk with a long stride, or if your foot strikes the ground too hard, or if the surface beneath you is rigid like cement or tile, the pressure on the joint can increase several times over. Imagine tapping your hand softly on a table. Now imagine hitting it hard with the same hand. The hand is the same, but the impact is completely different. Your knee responds the same way. There's also something important many people overlook. The knee depends heavily on the surrounding muscles, especially the quadriceps and hamstrings. These muscles act like shock absorbers for your joint. When they weaken, which naturally happens with aging or periods of inactivity, the knee loses its protection. So even a simple walk around the block feels heavier and more painful because the muscles are no longer sharing the load. I've seen patients who blamed their arthritis for years, when in reality, the biggest problem wasn't the joint itself, but the weakness surrounding it. Another factor that quietly affects your knee is alignment. If your legs bow slightly outward or inward, or if one hip carries more weight than the other, the pressure becomes uneven. I've had patients who only needed minor corrections in posture or stride to finally feel relief. This is why two seniors with the same X-ray can have completely different experiences. One can walk comfortably, while the other struggles to take 10 steps without pain. It's not just the arthritis. It's how the body moves with that arthritis. And this brings me back to something I tell every patient. Your knees are not your enemy. They're simply asking for help. They're asking for better habits, gentler steps, and a walking pattern that respects their limits. When you understand what your knees need, every decision you make becomes easier. Instead of guessing what is good or bad, you'll finally know how to move in a way that supports healing rather than worsening discomfort. If you've ever wondered why walking feels wonderful one day and terrible the next, this is where the answer begins. What's happening inside your knees matters, but how you move with those knees matters even more. The shocking truth about walking that most seniors never hear. Now that you understand what's really happening inside arthritic knees, I want to reveal something that surprises almost every older adult I've ever worked with. Most seniors believe that walking is harmless. They see it as the safest, most natural exercise, and in many ways, that's true. But what they don't realize is that walking becomes harmful when small, almost invisible habits amplify the pressure on their knees. And these habits usually develop quietly over time, without anyone noticing. I remember a gentleman named Richard, a kind man in his early 70s, who walked every morning for nearly 20 years. He came to me one afternoon and said, "Doctor, I don't understand what's happening. The more I walk, the worse my knees get. I thought walking was supposed to help me." When he said that, I recognized a pattern I've seen countless times. Richard wasn't doing anything wrong intentionally. His intention was good. His discipline was admirable. What he didn't know was that his stride length had gradually increased with age. His body leaned forward ever so slightly, his knees angled inward with every step. And the sidewalk he walked on every day was as unforgiving as stone. Each of these details seems harmless on its own, but together, they were multiplying the stress on his joints far beyond what his knees could tolerate. The truth is, walking doesn't damage arthritic knees. Poor walking patterns do. When scientists measure knee joint loading with motion sensors and pressure plates, they find that the force on the joint can range from gentle and therapeutic to intensely damaging, depending on how the foot lands, how long the stride is, and how much the body sways from side to side. This explains why some seniors walk every day and feel wonderful, while others struggle through constant flare-ups without knowing why. Another surprising truth is that pain does not always reflect damage. Many seniors panic when they feel pain and assume their arthritis is worsening, but that's not always the case. Pain can be the knee's way of saying, "Slow down, adjust something, give me a different kind of movement." I've had patients who were convinced they needed surgery, only to discover that simple modifications to their walking form completely changed the way their knees responded to activity. They didn't need new joints. They needed new habits. There's something else that seniors often miss, and it might be the most shocking truth of all. Walking when your knees are inflamed or swollen can create a vicious cycle that's hard to escape. Inflammation makes the joint more sensitive, and walking on a sensitive joint increases irritation. Suddenly, the knee that used to tolerate a half-mile walk now struggles with a few steps. Many seniors think this means their arthritis has rapidly worsened, but it's not that simple. What usually happened was that the knee needed rest, gentle mobility, or a shorter stride pattern before returning to regular walking. Walking is not a one-size-fits-all exercise, especially when dealing with arthritic knees. Your joints change with time, and your walking style must evolve with them. The same routine that felt perfect at age 60 might not work at age 75. Your knees are always communicating through stiffness, pressure, or fatigue, and your job is to understand those signals rather than ignore them. One of the biggest traps seniors fall into is believing that more walking is always better. I've seen people push themselves through long walks because they fear losing mobility. But mobility doesn't come from endurance alone. It comes from balanced movement, strong supporting muscles, and stress that is distributed, not concentrated. A short, well-aligned walk can heal your knees far more effectively than an hour of painful steps. I want you to think about this. Every step you take either nourishes your knees or exhausts them. The difference lies in technique, timing, and body awareness. That is the shocking truth most seniors never hear. Walking can be an incredible tool for managing arthritis, but only when done with intention. When done mindlessly, it becomes a subtle source of harm. What gives me hope is knowing that small adjustments can make a profound difference. You don't need athletic training or expensive equipment. You simply need knowledge, awareness, and the willingness to shift your habits. And once you do, walking stops being a burden and becomes a gift again. In the next part, I want to walk you through the step-by-step way to make walking work for your knees rather than against them. There is a gentle, science-backed method that protects your joints, strengthens your muscles, and restores the joy of movement. And once you learn it, your entire relationship with walking can change. Now that you understand why walking can feel so different from one day to the next, I want to guide you through something far more empowering. Walking can be healing. It can reduce stiffness, calm inflammation, and even strengthen your joints over time, but only when the body moves in harmony with the knee rather than against it. I've spent many years helping older adults rediscover this harmony, and the transformation is often remarkable. It doesn't require superhuman strength or complicated exercises. It simply requires awareness and a little practice. Imagine for a moment that your knee is a door hinge. If the hinge is dry or misaligned, every opening and closing feels rough. But when the hinge is oiled and supported, the door moves smoothly. Your knee operates the same way. Before you walk, your joint needs a moment of gentle preparation. I often ask my patients to begin with a slow warm-up, just 60 to 90 seconds of soft movement to wake up the joint. Light bending, slow leg swings, a gentle lift of the thighs. Nothing intense. It's like giving your knee a polite reminder that movement is coming. This small ritual can reduce discomfort dramatically and prepare the cartilage and tissues to handle the load of each step. Once you're standing, the next step is understanding stride length. Most seniors don't realize how much this matters. With age, we tend to compensate for stiffness by taking longer steps or leaning slightly forward. Both habits place disproportionate pressure on the knees. Shortening your steps just a little distributes force more evenly along the joint surfaces. When your stride is too long, your heel strikes the ground with a jarring impact. The knee locks too quickly, and the forward momentum shifts strain directly into the joint. When the stride is shorter, the muscles take more of the load, and the knee glides rather than jolts. Your posture plays a powerful role as well. Try imagining a string gently lifting you from the crown of your head. When your spine is aligned, your hips stabilize under you, and your knees don't have to compensate for imbalances. I've had patients who reduced their knee pain by nearly half, simply by adjusting the way they held their upper body. When the torso leans too far forward, the knees are forced into a constant braking motion. When the torso leans backward, the knees struggle to stabilize. But when you stand tall with a relaxed chest and soft shoulders, the entire body moves as a coordinated system. There is also a rhythm to safe walking, and this rhythm is something many older adults lose without noticing. I call it gentle cadence. It's the balance between pace and control. Walking too slowly, surprisingly, can make knees feel stiffer. Walking slightly quicker than your natural pace actually reduces the load per step because the foot spends less time on the ground. But the goal isn't speed. The goal is consistency. Find a rhythm where your steps feel light, steady, and almost musical. When your body finds that rhythm, walking shifts from effort into flow, and your knees feel supported rather than burdened. Surface choice matters more than most people realize. Cement and tile send shockwaves straight through your joints. Grass, Dirt paths and cushioned tracks absorb impact and protect the knee. I always tell my patients, choose a surface that respects your joints. Think of it as the difference between sleeping on a hardwood floor versus a soft mattress. Your knees notice those details even when your mind doesn't. Another overlooked part of proper walking is how the foot lands. Try listening to your steps for a moment. Are they heavy? Do they slap the ground? Ideally, your foot should kiss the earth rather than hit it. Let the heel touch first, then let the motion roll gently toward the toes. When the landing is soft and controlled, the knee feels less vibration and more stability. This single adjustment can change the entire experience of walking for someone with arthritic knees. Muscle engagement is essential. Your knees were never designed to carry the full responsibility of weight and movement. The muscles surrounding them are your natural shock absorbers. When you gently activate your thighs and hips as you walk, the knee becomes safer instantly. You don't need dramatic effort. Just imagine a soft tightening of your thigh each time you lift your foot and a relaxed release as your foot returns to the ground. This subtle engagement supports the joint with every step. Finally, listen to your body's signals. If your knee begins to ache deeply or swell afterward, that's a sign the joint needs rest or a shorter session next time. Pain is a guide, not a punishment. And rest is not failure. Some of the most successful outcomes I've seen came from seniors who learned how to alternate between walking and gentle recovery. When you tune in instead of pushing through, your body responds with greater strength over time. Walking can be a gift for your knee health, but like any gift, it needs to be used wisely. When done with awareness, patience, and proper technique, walking nourishes your joints rather than strains them. And the beautiful thing is that once these habits settle into your daily routine, walking becomes effortless again. It becomes something your body looks forward to, not something it fears. In the next section, I want to help you understand when walking needs to be modified, when it should be paused, and what alternative movements can support your joint on tougher days. Because walking should always be a partner to your healing, not a barrier to it. And with the right guidance, your knees can thrive far more than you may believe. Knowing when to adjust, when to rest, and which alternatives protect your arthritic knees. By now, you've learned that walking can be one of the most powerful ways to keep your arthritic knees moving smoothly, but only when it's done with the right awareness and the right technique. Still, there are days when walking simply doesn't feel the same. Some mornings you step out of bed and your knees feel light and ready, and other mornings they feel heavy, warm, or slightly swollen before you even begin. These fluctuations are normal, yet they are also your body's voice. Learning to understand that voice is one of the greatest gifts you can give your joints. I often tell my patients that the knee has its own weather patterns. Some days are sunny and bright, where everything moves beautifully. Other days are cloudy and unpredictable. When your knee feels swollen, achy, or unusually stiff, that is a sign the joint is inflamed. And inflammation changes everything. On those days, walking long distances or pushing through discomfort can turn a manageable flare into a lingering setback. The goal isn't to avoid movement completely, but to choose movements that calm rather than aggravate the joint. One of the most important lessons I've learned in my years of practice is this: rest is not weakness, and listening to your body is not giving up. In fact, people who honor their limits tend to improve faster than those who ignore early warning signs. When your knee feels irritated, a gentle reset can do wonders. Sometimes that reset looks like walking for shorter periods throughout the day instead of one long session. Sometimes it looks like choosing a softer surface or using a knee brace for extra stability. And sometimes it means stepping away from walking entirely for a day or two while still keeping your joint mobile through gentler alternatives. Water-based movement is one of the most overlooked tools for knee health. Stepping into a warm pool is almost like stepping into a different world, one where gravity softens and your joints feel lighter. I've seen seniors who struggled to walk across their living room suddenly discover they could move gracefully in water. The buoyancy reduces joint load dramatically while still strengthening the muscles that support your knees. Even simple walking in waist-deep water can bring relief and restore confidence. Cycling on a stationary bike is another powerful alternative, especially on days when your knees feel too sensitive for full weight-bearing exercise. The circular motion nourishes the joint through repeated lubrication without the impact of walking. It strengthens the quadriceps, which are essential for knee stability, and gives you a way to stay active even during flare-ups. Many of my patients alternate walking days with cycling days, and they often tell me their joints feel more balanced, less irritated, and better prepared for movement. One of the most comforting pieces of knowledge I can offer is this: your knees are not deteriorating rapidly just because they feel worse on certain days. Arthritic joints often fluctuate in how they feel, and those shifts are influenced by everything from weather changes to hydration levels to the quality of your sleep the night before. What matters most is not avoiding discomfort entirely, but responding to it wisely. When you move mindfully, your knees have the room they need to recover, strengthen, and stabilize. There is also a deep emotional side to knee pain that people rarely talk about. Many seniors fear losing independence. They worry that needing to rest or modify their routine means they are getting weaker. But the truth is exactly the opposite. Your willingness to adjust is a sign of strength, not decline. It shows that you are taking ownership of your health and learning how to work with your body instead of fighting against it. I've walked alongside so many older adults through this journey, and if there is one thing I want you to remember, it is this: healing is not linear. Some days are easier, some days are harder, and all of it is part of the process. When you understand how to move with intelligence, when you know how to shift from walking to cycling to water movement or even gentle stretching, your knees will thank you. They become more resilient. They recover faster. They handle longer distances with less resistance. Every thoughtful choice builds strength quietly, day after day. And as you begin to trust your body again, walking becomes something different. It becomes less about fighting pain and more about reconnecting with the world around you. The breeze on your face, the rhythm of your steps, the freedom of moving without fear. When your knees are supported, your whole life feels supported. That's why learning when to walk, when to rest, and when to choose an alternative movement matters so deeply. You deserve a life where motion feels natural, not painful. And with the right knowledge and the right habits, that life is absolutely possible. There is something beautiful that happens when we begin to understand our bodies with kindness instead of frustration. Throughout this journey together, I hope you felt a shift, even a small one, in the way you see your knees, your movement, and your own strength. Every senior I've ever met has carried a story of resilience, and you are no different. You are far stronger than you realize, and your body, even with its aches and limits, is still working tirelessly to support you every single day. What truly changes a person's experience with arthritic knees is not just technique or posture, or the right surface to walk on. It is the combination of belief, patience, and gratitude. When you believe that your body is capable of healing, you open the door to progress. When you practice patience, especially on the harder days, you allow your joints the time they need to recover. And when you bring gratitude into the process, even in small moments, something remarkable happens. Your body stops feeling like a burden and starts feeling like a partner. I want you to remember this. Every gentle step you take is an act of courage. Every adjustment you make is an act of wisdom. And every time you choose to honor your body instead of forcing it, you move one step closer to a healthier, more confident version of yourself. As we close today's conversation, I hope you carry with you a renewed sense of hope. Your knees are not the end of your journey. They are simply asking for your understanding. With the right care, the right awareness, and the right mindset, you can reclaim movement that feels free, steady, and deeply human. If today's message touched your heart or helped you understand your body in a new way, I invite you to stay connected with us here at Senior Health Daily. Your journey matters, and we're here to walk it with you.